Welcome to the channel. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm a truck driver, so if you're easily angered or triggered, or you can't take other people's opinions, this is not the right channel for you. This is a toy channel, but as a truck driver, I like to listen to podcasts. I like to listen to videos. I like to listen to other people's opinions. At the end of the day, I'm an American before I'm a YouTuber. I'm not even a YouTuber, bro. Like, I can do without the internet. I was born in the 80s. The 80s was a wild time, man. We had some great stuff, man. We had roller rinks. We had arcades. Man, I think the arcades was more... Well, I was born in 1982, so when I started going to the arcades, it was like 86, 87, and then, probably the mid 90s, it started dropping off. All the arcades started, slowly inching its way out of the malls. So I want to talk about, I have a friend of mine who's currently dating a stripper, right? And he wants to basically stop. He wants her to stop stripping. But he met her at a strip joint, right? So here's my take on that. Like, if you met somebody when they're doing something, right? And then you feel like you come into their life and you either want to try to say like, oh, I can change that person, or I can, he's going to stop for me, or she's going to stop for me. It's crazy, because that's how you met her. And she doesn't want to stop. There's nothing, she's not going to stop. She makes a lot of money doing that, And here's the problem going into the relationship, right? And this is you have to remember what you're from. Back in the day, we used to have something called courting, right? Before even dating, we would court somebody. And depending on how you were brought up, you can look at this in two ways. The mannerism of manners and the mannerism of traditions. Now, manners is you would have respect enough to ask, I would like to date your daughter. I mean, of course, you would ask, how would you feel about going out with me? Of course, I would ask your parents, or whatever the case may be, no matter how old you are. It was just out of respect. And traditionally wise, a lot of cultures were brought up that you would ask, the parents, or that, mostly the dad, the mother would have say in that, but it was mostly the dad out of respect, And that goes for either dating or being married. That's just how I was brought up, right? How do you talk to somebody and not know who they are? You know what I'm saying? That's why I said courting is important, like before you date, you have to court, you put everything out, everybody's like, oh, nowadays it's hard because a lot of the women, I don't know too much about the guys, but in my experience, especially with I shouldn't even say this is a friend of mine. This is more of an acquaintance, because I have a very small circle of friends, and I keep it that way for the simple reason that it's all he said, she said, and I'm too old for that. I'm going to be 44 this year. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't do that. But courting is a very important part of any kind of relationship, right? Damn the politics in everything, because I know that a lot of people get triggered nowadays. I hate that word, triggered. That's only that new stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, back in the day, we were Man, dude, I grew up on Richard Pryor, bro. Paul Mooney, George Carlin, Rob Williams, Eddie Murphy. There's so many. There's so many comedians, that I grew up on. And you want to talk about having thick skin? We were, come on, man. David Chappelle back in the. I mean, dude. Nowadays, this generation is soft. All right, y'all get into your feelings too quick, and then, you want to cancel people, right? Because they got a different opinion of whatever you got going on, right? Or you're like, oh, I'm emotionally distressed, or you're emotionally hurting me, and I mean, come on. I'm not gonna get mad at somebody's hustle, but let's keep it a buck, man. Let's keep it 100 right now. That most of the time you guys sit behind your keyboard. That's another thing. Back in the day, we didn't have a keyboard to sit next to. We didn't have computer, the internet. I think that came out like 95, 96, whatever it is. I can live without a cell phone. Shit. We went without a cell phone. We used to have we used to have the pay phones. Remember Superman went into like the telephone booths, and he would do that quick turn, and then he would just get out. And, I mean, come on, man. But let's get back on to talking about the relationship, right? So when you're courting somebody, it's important to talk about every aspect. Go over everything. Make sure this is the same person that's on your level. The reason why relationships don't work a lot of times is because they're not on your level. Their finances are not on your level. Nowadays, people want to know the credit score. I mean, I watch a lot of stuff. I listen to a lot of stuff. I read a lot of stuff. And I take it with a grain of salt, because you don't know where these sources are coming. And remember one thing, right? The left, the right, whatever politics you're in, you have to remember one side has one story, the other side has another story. But in the middle is the truth. So I really do believe, from the bottom of my heart, that people can have different opinions and somehow meet in the middle. But nowadays, y'all don't got opinions. Now it's like you either agree with me or you don't. And if you don't agree with me, I'm gonna castrate you. I'm coming after you. I'm gonna cancel you. I'm gonna hurt you. I mean, look, they just tried to assassinate the president again. Oh man, y'all. Hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you something about politics, okay? And I read a lot of stuff. These politicians are friends, man. This is all a show. This is all theater. This is all to keep all of us guessing in this race bait and race war. Bro, I grew up in a time there was only me and maybe 2 or 3 other families that were white. It was like 2 other Jewish families, and then it was my family. We ain't Jewish. My family was Protestant, and I was Catholic. My grandma was Catholic. I don't know how that dynamic played out, but I was dragged to church and all that. That was forced upon me. The Bible's a great story. Don't get me wrong. I believe that there's a higher power. I'm not a Scientologist, but I mean, like, the whole thing with Jesus getting resurrected, that sounded a lot like aliens beaming up a damn body. All right. I wasn't back there, but I've read the book. I've read the Bible, read the Testament. I've read some parts of the Quran. I should go back and read the whole Quran. But I mean, like, it all has similarities. It's not so far-fetched from each other, right? One, like, Jewish people don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah. Then you got the Muslims that believe that why would God put his own son on to crucify him on a cross? Why would he would let that happen? So it's like the Muslims believe that we pray to a false God. Who knows? Who knows what any of that? Listen, this is not about religion. I don't want to get into that because I know people get triggered about it. So I try to, listen to everybody's side. Okay. And I'm not attacking anybody. This is just my own personal beliefs. and my own personal experiences. More like my own personal experience of dealing with people, right? And so we grew up in a time where we had sandboxes. We didn't have entertainment. Our family used to kick us out of the house, you know? And they used to say, hey, you know, you got to do your homework. You got to go to school. And then you had to walk to school. I walked to school, man. I didn't. And then if you took the bus, it's like, oh, you took you were on the retard bus. You know, that was a thing back in the day. You know, I don't want to say the word retard, but mentally challenged. Let's put it that way, right? So it's frowned upon to take a bus. I lived like 2 miles away, man. Like going back and forth, and my grandparents didn't, they didn't drive me. You know, a lot of times you would have to get a bike or whatever the case may be. But you know, we went to school by ourselves. Anytime we could have got kidnapped, right? So I mean, there's a lot of things that have changed nowadays. Okay, and I think the parents are to blame on that because we shelter the kids. I mean, look at all this stuff about, you know, look at all this stuff like, oh, you came in 9th place, but you'll still get something. Like, what is going on, bro? You know, everybody's a winner. No, where's the competitive streak? We are, in our species, we have primal instincts. It's embedded in our DNA to be competitive. All right, self-preservation. Okay, and I tell you, as a truck driver, listen, we're all assholes. I'm an asshole, y'all an asshole, and I'm gonna tell you why. You can be the nicest person, but once you get behind the wheel, y'all do some asshole things on that damn highway, on the damn streets. If you don't believe me, after you watch this video, listen to the video, you know, just go onto the highway. You go onto the highway and see how many times people let you in, how many times let you out. People race up to a red light. I don't know how it is wherever state you're from, but in Arizona, like all the people from California, fuck California, bro. Fuck California. I don't care if you're from California. It has nothing to do about politics. You guys drive like assholes. You guys drive like assholes. You can be the nicest person when you're not behind the wheel. But when you get behind the wheel, fuck everybody. Y'all do not have any respect for your life. And you don't have no respect for anybody else's life. You just see how the accidents are around here. Oh, there's a, you know, y'all racing up to a yellow light just so you could beat it. Oh, I'm not gonna let that guy in because he's a truck and he's too slow. And yeah, bro, listen to me. At the end of the day, it's all about yourself. You want to see how human nature is? Focus on the road. See how many people, you know, like there was a time when somebody got, you know, in trouble on the side of the road. You know how many people used to pull over just to see if they could help? They don't do that no more, which is good reason because there's a lot of people out there that try to shoot you and steal from you and hurt you. You know, like I said, it was a different time when I grew up. But nowadays, it's got increasingly crazy. Like that nature is crazy. We are people who are saying, oh, I'm not about the war. But the same people that say they're not about the war or whatever the war is, and I'm going to tell you, embedded in your DNA, you're a very confrontational. We're a species that has always been in war, has always had slavery. And you think slavery's done? You think you have it bad in America? You do not have it bad in America, man. I'm able to make this video. And there's hundreds of other videos telling you how bad America is, how bad white people are, how bad black people are, how bad Chinese people are, how bad Spanish people are. We are able to say this, right? But that's why I say, because we got freedom of speech. Y'all don't know what you have until you don't have it no more. I mean, look at New York. They got a mayor who's a Marxist. You know? Like he's for communist stuff. There's people from Russia, from Cuba, from Venezuela, from all these other countries that are under a communist regime. Dictators, right? They're the ones telling you how much beef you can buy, how much rent is going to be, how much this, how much that. They control every aspect of your life. And let's say that you're born in China and you say something bad about their government. You gone. You gone. Right? I'm about small government. See, man, y'all got too reliant on the government. Y'all got too reliant on government. But then again, I was born in an era of working where we had to work for everything. I mean, times have changed, right? Maybe the job market is different than what it was. Meaning, I used to have a newspaper route. And before I went to school, I would, get newspapers. I mean, the night before we would roll them up and then I would just, deliver them. Before I would go into, I would have my bike and whatnot. And I would make, I know this is going to sound stupid, but I used to make maybe almost like $100 a week. It may be a little less, I know one of those weeks I made 100. And I think that was because spring break or whatever. But for the most part, I think it was around 60 or so. You think that's not a lot of money, but back then, damn, you can go to it used to be 53 cents at White Castle for burgers. You can go to the Whopper used to be $1.50, maybe $2. It was a different time. So $60 went a long way. I mean, damn near Ninja Turtles, where I grew up, right? Ninja Turtles, you buy it for $5, $6. Same thing with G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe was maybe $2 or $3, And now all of them are in the hundreds and the thousands, right? Vintage toys. You had the vehicles. The vehicles themselves are $12, maybe $20. Nowadays, the vehicles go for, what was it? What the hell was the one with the spaceship? I always forget that. I always forget the spaceship, man. Okay, anyway, the spaceship goes for $40,000, right? You can get a brand new in a box back then for maybe $100. Now it goes for $40,000. It'll come to me while we're talking, and then I'll interrupt and be oh yeah, that's what it was. So I mean, I want to get back to courting, right? So courting's important. Nowadays, you damn near have to go over your bank account. You have to go over all your finances, and rightfully so. Who wants to date somebody and then get involved with somebody just to get blindsided that they got all this debt and they expect you to clean it up? I didn't accumulate that debt. Why'd you bring it into the relationship? I didn't know about that, but it's your fault for not investigating, right? It's just a different time, man. The other thing that I want to touch base on, is that as a truck driver, I get to go out and I get to meet a lot of people from a lot of cultures. I met a lot of people from China. I met a lot of people from India. I met a lot of people from Jamaica. I mean, when you're on the road and you go to those truck stops and you're waiting for a shower, or you're just resting, or, because you're sleeping in your sleeping berth and you're just, you got to do your 10-hour, whatever it is before you can, because you're only allowed to drive 12, 13. Sometimes you can get 16-hour exception. I think that's once a month or something like that. You're allowed that once a month. But for the most part, you can't go over, I think you can't drive over 12 hours. And then you can only work, I think, 13 or 14 hours in a day. And then you got to do your 10-hour restart. That's how that goes. I never got up to that point. So, and we make our money cents per mile, right? Well, that's how it used to be. But nowadays I drive local. A lot of my experiences were in the past. Well, I did my 2 years. And that was another thing. This is pre-COVID I'm talking about. Pre-COVID, you had to have 2 years, 3 years experience. before any kind of company would hire you local, because they want you to have that experience. They want to make sure you could drive in any kind of weather. They want to make sure that you know the laws by like any kind of state. You got to have all your permits, all your documents. You got to make sure that everything is up. You know, the DOT, you get pulled over and you don't got the right, you get a ticket, and the company gets dinged for that. And you ain't gonna have that job for long. I've seen rollovers. I've seen trucks getting, because they don't look for low clearance and they get stuck under a damn bridge. Sometimes it's not their fault because they pave, and sometimes it goes up a little bit, or there could be snow on the ground that makes it a little bit, the inches, so you're like not even driving on the road, you're driving on the ice. I mean, there's a lot of stuff truck drivers really have. Like I always said that people that drive cars should be mandatory to take at least driving test in trucks to see how they're operating, because y'all don't know how trucks operate. Y'all be cutting us off, y'all be speeding around us. Like, yeah, I get it. I get that we're slow, but we have 80,000 pounds. We got weight, and it takes us like damn near 4 football fields to come to a stop. You think we gonna, bro? Cutting us off is like cutting a freight train. That we ain't stopping, bro. They tell us when we're doing a certain amount of speed that it's better to hit a wild animal that's walking on the road than try to swerve around it. Because when we swerve, we're gonna jackknife. We don't, bro. We're not talking about accidents. We're talking about fatalities. Okay. So y'all need, every person that I know that's a good person, once they get behind the wheel, they turn into assholes. Maybe not all the time, but y'all do everybody does dick moves. I do dick moves, and I ain't gonna lie. There are times where I speed up too. I don't do the speed limit. Who does the speed limit? I do about like maybe 5 miles over the speed limit, because at the same time, me having a truck driving license, you don't want to speed either, because it stays on your permanent record, because it will stay on your record. Because some companies, a lot of companies, when they hire you or whatever, they go through clearinghouse to make sure you don't have drugs or you didn't fail a test or whatever, because you get random drug tests too. They want to make sure that you're sharp. You got to go to get your medical card every 2 years. They want to make sure that, you don't got sleep apnea. They want to make sure that you're healthy. They want to make sure that you're not going to, you can't predict when you're going to have a stroke or a heart attack, but they try to limit that. They want to make sure that, your medical is at least, up to par. But you have to remember one thing though. There's a lot of people that got their DOTs and they don't go through medical channels that they should. They go to other doctors that will clear them. And they could have a lot of stuff wrong with it. It just goes by how much you're going to pay. So, I mean, even then, but I mean, like, I don't know. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But courting's important, man. And you can't, when you get into a relationship, get this out of your mindset that you're going to change anybody. You don't go into a relationship thinking you could change anybody. You should just be thinking about, I want to find a life partner that shares the same values, shares the same opinions, that, is going to complement my lifestyle. Not that I have to change that person or adapt to that person's lifestyle. Bro, you should just be sharing a life. You shouldn't be doing all that work. That's way too much work. You're doing way too much. You know what I'm saying? You got to get somebody on your level. And then y'all get mad. Oh, that's a stay-at-home person. Well, what kind of, if it's embedded in them, they're not going to stay home. How did they get brought up? How was their, and when you're courting, you get to meet the family. You get to see how their upbringing is. You get to see how the morals are. There's so many benefits of courting instead of dating. You know what I'm saying? Before I date anybody, I'm courting. I want to get to know you. They're like, I grew up in an era where, yeah, you could get one-night stands and have friends with benefits. That's great and all. But then when you get to a certain level in your life, you kind of like mature. You get out of that habit of doing it. And I'm all about that. Get this all out of your system. Because when you meet the right person, that's it. Because I believe in that. I believe in the 10 Commandments. I may not follow the Bible to a T. And I may not. This is what I was saying about there's my side, your side, and in the middle there's truth. I don't believe everything the church says. I don't believe everything the Bible says. I think it's very naive if you do. You have to remember this, that we're all men and we're all mortals. You have a priest that said they got their teachings from the Bible, but that Bible's been passed down and passed down and passed down. So what I'm saying about that is, what happens if I tell you, okay, let's say I go to somebody named Jim, and I said, Jim, their truck has a flat tire. Then Jim goes to Paul, and then Jim says, hey, the truck has a flat tire, and you have to clean the windshield. I didn't say anything about the windshield. You see how he just interacted and he just put that in there? He just put a little bit in there. So the story changes over time, depending on who's telling it. And that's the same thing with comic books. That's why I love collecting action figures and comic books, because comic books, people put their own spin on things, right? They had a what if spirit. They had a what if series, Infinite Crisis in DC. They had What If in Marvel. So these are all different people writing different stories with the same character, but their own spin on what they're talking about. You see what I'm saying? You can't expect to change people. Okay? You can't change stripes on a tiger. That's what I've always been told. And you're right. When have you ever seen a zookeeper, a zoologist, anybody, marine biologist, anybody who could change an animal to what they're doing? No, an animal is an animal. People freak out when a monkey, as a pet, all of a sudden goes out of their mind to eat a woman's face, like what was that, like years ago? Remember that woman that had that monkey? That monkey went out of her mind and ate her face? It is an animal. You're trying to suppress their, they're not like us, where we have free will. Right? Monkeys have their primal instincts and they act on it, where we suppress it. We have primal instincts too, but we suppress that. We got laws, we got regulations. Women in the workplace, you can't squeeze their ass anymore. I never did, but back in the day, let me tell you something. It was a different time when women were in the workplace, and I really do believe that some things came out of it good. Women want to get paid more than a guy, right? Or the same as a guy. But who's building that? I'm not saying there's not. I've seen truck driving women, and there's a lot more nowadays. But a lot of times, when I call a plumber, or I call an electrician, or I deal with a contractor, you got women out there, but very little. Most of them is like 90% of it is still men. When you talk about HR or office people, I would say that's where the women make up that workforce. Or OnlyFans, women are dominating on that. I mean, I'm not part of OnlyFans, man. My wife will kick my ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, she'll be like, oh, what is these charges? That's the other thing right there. Where you're supposed to combine your finances. And you combine everything. So you don't want to get into a relationship with just, you don't want to get into a relationship with somebody who's bringing all this debt because you ain't accumulated. Now, if you accumulate it together, that's because you lived a life together. I feel that. And the same thing when you save up money on your own. That money is their purse. You know what I'm saying? Like when you come into a relationship, a lot of people have this naive notion that, okay, well, now that we're married, I'm entitled to everything you got. By law, but by moral, if you're a decent person, you'll understand like, nah, that person worked hard for that money. Right? And it just goes by who you dated or who you're married to. I think when you're dating, you're still single. You're not tied to that person because you didn't say your wedding vows. You didn't make a promise to the person that like, we have a contract. And even then, you got a contract. That shit don't mean not. That shit don't mean nothing nowadays. You know how, bro? Man, listen. When I tell you that I have a group of friends, but those group of friends got family members. We got family, and we got cousins, and we got, bro. Let me tell you something. A friend of mine's cousin recently got married, and within 3 months they filing for divorce or not divorce. What was that thing that you have an annulment? You have until like a year to get an annulment or something. You annul it. I don't know. I forgot what the word's called. But they damn near just, and they spent like $10,000. I'm like, yo, y'all crazy spending this much money on one day. Yo, you wild for that. I'm gonna tell you another thing, man. Y'all gonna get triggered. I'm gonna tell you right now. And I love women. But y'all been lied to. Y'all been lied to. Because most women that I know and that I see out here making money are divorced women because they take half of the dude's money. All your billionaires, all your millionaires, look at the dude from Amazon. Well, she has billions of dollars because she divorced. Although, she deserved to because that dude was cheating. But he has all that money. He could, the same thing with Elon Musk and I don't even want to say the president's name because people get triggered nowadays. It's so now you have to remember, I grew up in the 80s, right? Trump has always been. Oh shit! I just said his name, bro. People are probably triggered. Anyway. I grew up in the 80s, and this dude was newspapers. He was in the life. He was in Rich and the Famous, Luxury House. Like he was all over he's never been not. He's always been in some form of capacity in the limelight. It's just now everybody kind of knows him because he's American president. I ain't gonna lie, bro. When I was back in 2016, I voted for him because he wasn't a politician and he made money. People think, because he claimed bankruptcy. It's a game to him. He's worth billions. He never went bankrupt. He claimed it. You could claim there's certain levels of bankruptcy that you could claim, and a lot of times you could pay that. A lot of times these people got the money to do it. But they do it just to catch their bearings. Just to see what they could do to make more money. What assets they have to sell, what they have to do to get from, out of it, but still make money. Still have enough to get. Bro, listen, it's a game. And he can make money. That's why I voted for him. Then after that, he really didn't do nothing. And he's very egotistical. I always felt that way from the 80s. I don't personally like him, but I voted for him because I personally like my wallet. Yeah, you feel me? Don't make long story short, I never voted for him again because he didn't do anything good for the country because he doesn't think like I think he's patriotic, but so is General Zod. General Zod had his own way of saving, Krypton. He had his own belief. So did like a lot of other world leaders of how to save their country, how to save their world. But they don't, that's the problem. They think in their mind, one person. No, you have to think as a nation. That's why Trump is not a good president in my eyes. Because every time he talks, I'm the greatest president that ever done it. And they put me up there. But nobody puts you anywhere. You put yourself. He's very egotistical. Everything is about him. Okay? He's always been like that though. So you can't knock a guy. That's why I said you got to court. You have to read. You have to get into it. Like if you're going to be a politician or politics or you want to get into that or you want to vote, read up on these people. But I'm telling you, behind closed doors, Behind closed doors, you think Trump is enemy to all these people? Oh, man, he's making people money. And the same thing with, like, the Democrats. You think these Democrats, this is all a show for y'all. Y'all been brainwashed. Oh, my God, they don't like each other. They're going after each other. They're going to impeach him. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Man. Listen, everybody's making money. Those Democrats are making money. Those, the Republicans are making money. That's all they're doing. They don't care. Think about, what was that? Oh, what's it? Is Somley what's her name? The girl who's from Simona, or not Simona, but she's like a Muslim, and she's Minnesota and all that. And anyway, she look at how much millions she's making. And you think that they're here for us? Okay. There ain't no politicians that are for us, man. They all hear what you want, and they scream louder. And the loudest person screaming are usually the weakest. They don't got no leverage. You give them leverage. That's why I don't get into politics. I think it's crazy. But anyway, so every week, what I want to do is I want to have like a little rant and rave, about, as a truck driver, talk about stuff and leave down stuff in the comment. But, I grew up on radio. I grew up listening to Howard Stern and all the rest of that. And you can say what you want about Howard Stern, but back in the day, he was pretty funny. He was really funny. I mean, he's off his marbles now. But Artie Lang, you had Jim Belushi, and then you had some other brother. I don't know. I just grew up in a different time where it was, humor was different. And you get away with a lot more. But when you court somebody, just remember, you want to get to know everything about them and see if they fit in your life. You want to see if this puzzle piece that you have, that you are missing in your life, is going to fit in your life. Don't force it. You can't force that puzzle piece to fit in your life. And if you meet somebody doing something, don't expect that person to stop just because you met them. The same thing with, like, if you meet a girl who's a stripper, you met her stripping. There's this rock group called In This Moment. And I think they came out with that song Whore. And in that song, they have a lyric that said that you love everything about me, but everything that you love about me, you hate. So she's talking about that you love everything I could do in the bedroom, but at the same time, you hate me because I could do what you want in the bedroom. That's what y'all want. But then you hate that person for it. Well, obviously you went to a strip joint because you wanted to go to a strip joint. Right? Then you met the girl there. Then you expect that person just to change because now that you're in that life. You got to accept it for what it is. But anyway, if there's any other subjects, leave it down in the comment section and we'll touch on it for next week or whatever. And I'll answer whatever questions you got. But like I said, as a truck driver, we all assholes as soon as we get behind the wheel. Maybe not all the time, but y'all do some dick moves. I can't be good all the time too. Sometimes I do some stupid moves too. But for the most part, I'm more conscientious because I don't want to, as I drive a truck, I always picture my family on my left or my right, on the corner, to make sure that my tires are not going over the curb. So I try to be as conscientious as I can be when I'm driving. Okay? But y'all crazy as fuck when y'all drive. It's like your self-preservation, it's not even there no more. And y'all racing, and there's hey, listen, going slow is just as worse as going fast. So when you got all these old people that are doing the under the speed limit, oh man, I'm gonna tell you something. When you're on the highway, go the fucking, man, If it's saying 65, go 65. If you're going 55, okay, but get all the way over to your right lane. I see motherfuckers in the fast lane going that. I'm like, dude, y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. Come on, man. All right. Thank you for listening, and I hope you all have a blessed and wonderful day. I'm out.